I would like to focus my presentation about the dynamics, the household dynamics in terms of food consumption and in terms of food acquisition. So for that, we have used a new tool called Candice. Candice means Qualitative Nutrition Diet, which is a food study periodically carried out with CLG projects. CLG is funded by Bill and Melinda Gates. So Candice aims to document the effect of poultry programs and local market on diet and nutrition outcomes for women and children. Candice aims to focus on food acquisition, food consumption, and intra-household distribution of food. What is about the methodology? We have chosen 30 villages by using probability sampling. In each village, you have select 4 households where you can find a mother who have children aged 6 to 23 months, according to the following characteristic. So we have chosen 1 mother in monogamous households, 1 mother in polygamous household, and 1 mother which husband is absent. The methodology approach is based on the mixed method combining qualitative tools and quantitative tools. In terms of qualitative tools, we have market analysis, food frequency questionnaire, and in terms of qualitative tool, we have used 24-hour recall, semi-structured interview, and 24-hour direct observation. What is about with the finding? In terms of finding, the main thing we want to highlight here is that without access to a local market, the chance to household consuming a diversified diet are reduced. This is a reality because in some village, some population do not have access to a market. Generally, all 10 food groups are available in the market. For a 6-person household, a diversified meal costs around $3. We have decided to take 6 persons because in Burkina Faso, the demographic health survey show that in the rural community, we are an average 6 persons in the family. Something very interesting to highlight here is that households that identify local poultry production can generate around $360 additional income, allowing for greater dietary diversity. It's very interesting to present this because we are working in agricultural strategic nutrition program. We encourage the production of poultry to generate a staple income in order to have a nutrition outcome. So, due to gender norm, in terms of processing and distributing food, are to be in the other column. Gender role have a significant impact on who have the power and ability to make decisions around food purchases and decision. There is a little or no discussion between spouses on the way that money is used. What is about the controlling and the keeping of the money? We have found that when the money, most of the time, the money is kept by another person. For example, 7 out of 10 women can keep the money that they own. Buying soaps is another area where women spend their money. Without increased outcome and nutrition education, households can achieve dietary diversity for local markets. Food consumed by children and women depend essentially on what is prepared at home in opposition to men who can access additional food out of our home. Because if you see a question of mobility, the men can go to a market when they want, but it's not the same for the women. The study of diet diversity is related to economic power of women. Qualitative tools like Candice help to better understand inter-household determinant of food diversification. To achieve household dietary diversity in nutrition outcome for women and children aged 6 to 23 months, we must first empower women through production and sale of poultry, increase the access to a knowledge of poultry diversification and production, facilitate greater control of the income, and increase the decision-making capacity. Thank you very much for your attention and for your patience.
Can you talk more about the timing? So is this cross-sectional? What do you think, how do you think maternal BMI affect stunting? Is it maternal BMI during pregnancy? And you see it also in wasting, which is a more acute. So can you just talk more about that? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. And it is one of the limitations of these, because we're using DHS data, we're using cross-sectional data. And since empowerment is a process, you're not capturing sort of that process issue. However, with that said, and it's also the analysis for child nutritional status was restricted to married women with children 6 to 24 months of age, so no pregnant women included in that particular analysis. So the maternal BMI issue, I think, that also is one of those things that can accumulate over time. I think that's also a process. Women accruing their BMI, their height over a very long time from early childhood, and then their weight, of course, more short term. And so in that regard, I think the assets which they enter into their marriage with, the age at first birth, the age at first marriage, age at first sexual intercourse that we found that retained in our model, those have also been associated with child nutritional status and may actually be functioning through a maternal BMI. Those women who are able to delay, they often enter into those marriages with better nutritional status and are able to have children. And I think that's where we're seeing that assets functioning through maternal BMI. But the other indicators did not appear to work through maternal BMI. And it was really once you put maternal BMI in as that on the causal pathway, associations with beliefs about intimate partner violence fell out. And we're still trying to grapple as to why that happened. But they did still stay with hemoglobin. And it may be more of an issue of this biological transfer of nutritional status for HAZ and WHAZ, whereas for hemoglobin, you may have more aspects related to health seeking. So malaria prevention, able to access iron supplements, able to get into health centers for more things related to anemia.
So I really like the analysis that you did, and one of the good things is that one of the threats to sort of making an inference about children's velocity is regression to the mean, because the smallest infants are going to grow the fastest. If they're small at birth, they're going to grow faster. So the regression method you used accounted for that, but I think that making a claim for catch-up growth, I mean, what you've done is basically, to me, said that those whose relative velocity is the fastest are associated with certain characteristics, and that's helpful to know. But labeling it catch-up growth, I think, requires going further than that, because the relative velocities you looked at are within the normal distribution of velocities, and catch-up growth should be about velocities that are beyond what's normal. And if you're going to make a claim about that, then perhaps use the WHO growth standards, the velocity standards, to gauge whether or not in fact there are any velocities that are actually beyond normal.
Regression to the mean somehow accounted for that, and then using that clinically interpretable cutoff of 0.67, which is how catch-up growth has been defined based on those conditional Z-score. But I guess I understand what you mean. It's a good point to consider.
You looked at certain variables like decision-making, you looked at leadership and time and the rest of them. But I was wondering why you didn't look at education. Because in Africa, education is an important aspect of empowerment because it starts there. If the education is not there, all the other things may not sail well. Thank you.
Education is actually included in the regression. So we do control for education. But we do not include education in the empowerment index because we think of education as a determinant of empowerment, as the way that this one is formulated.
I'm looking at the dimensions of women empowerment, and I'm wondering why you didn't think about women's mental health. Because if you talk about something like exclusive breastfeeding, the status of the mind of the mother is very important. If she's able to relax well, then the breastfeeding happens very easily. So that could be something, I don't know how much you've thought about it, but that is something that maybe we need to study.
This is a very important conversation to be having, and increasingly it is happening at the global health front, which I think is very promising. Currently, DHS does not collect data on maternal mental health, and that's one of the reasons we didn't look at it. But the human development research clearly demonstrates the sort of mechanisms and associations between maternal mental health and child nutrition and child development. And there's also the increasing literature on sort of postpartum depression and anxiety among women in low and middle resource countries that is very compelling in terms of the need for us to really begin unpacking maternal mental health in global context and how it plays into these ag nutrition pathways.